Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Let's code together. On this channel, we just simplify complex coding concepts, making them easy to understand and accessible to learners of all levels. In today's video, we are just diving into the composite design pattern. This pattern is super powerful when you need to work with both individual objects and groups of objects in a consistent way. So composite design pattern, it's a structural design pattern, and this pattern is useful when we need to work with both individual objects and group of objects in a same way, right? So you can see in the diagram, so we have leaf objects and we have composite objects, right? So composite objects are combination of leaf objects, and you can say composite objects are group of leaf objects. So if we want to perform some operations on these composite objects or on leaf objects in the same way, then composite design pattern is a solid choice to design such software. Imagine you are running a restaurant and you have individual menu items like pizza, pasta, coke, coffee, right? But you also have menus that group these items together, like a breakfast menu or drinks menu, right? So while taking order, so you want to process the complete menu items exactly the way you are processing your order on the individual items. So means either it's an individual item or it's a complete menu. So the on this order will be performed in the same way. If you are replicating the same scenario in the software development, so in that case, to perform such operation, so we will be adapting the composite design pattern. Let's discuss about key concepts of composite design pattern. So basically there are three components of composite design pattern. First one is component. So this is the common interface for both individual objects and group of objects. So in simple words, we can say, so component is basically the base component that defines the common methods for leaf and composites. If I go back to the previous diagram, so in this diagram, you can see we have composites and leaf objects, right? So as I discussed, so leaf is individual object and composite contains multiple leaf objects, right? So if we are talking about the base component, so base component would be some interface which will be containing some methods. Those are common for this composite and these individual objects. So next component is leaf. So these are the individual objects, right? For example, in our menu, so this pizza, this is the individual object. So we can call it leaf. So next component is composite. These are the complex objects that contain other components. So here in this diagram, you can see this menu is a composite because it contains further menu items. For example, pancakes and omelette, right? And in next diagram, so this is the complete menu, which is also a composite, which contains individual items as well as the menus, right? So in other words, a composite object contains group of leaf objects, and we should provide some helper methods to add or delete leaves from the group. We can also provide a method to remove all the elements from the group. So in this diagram, you can see at the top, we have menu component. So this is the common interface for both individual objects and group of objects. So that's why there is a relationship between individual menu items and the composite menus. Let's jump into the code to make this crystal clear. We will start by defining our component interface, which will be implemented by both individual menu items and menus. So let's create first menu component. So this would be an interface, and let's create one common function, show details. So this method is common for individual menu item as well as for menu. Let's create class menu item. In this class, we have private string name and private double price. So let's create constructor to initialize these properties. So we have parameterized constructor for this initialization. Let's implement this class from menu component. And we need to override the method public void show details, and let's print item name and price. It's price, right? So this is our leaf component. Let's create another class menu. So implements menu component, and let me override the method show details. Moreover, this class has two properties, so private string name, so it will be containing the menu name, and we have another we have another property, list of menu components, new array list, so let's call it menu components. So here we have list of menu components, so what we will be doing for, so let's put the advanced for loop and menu component dot show details. We are just traversing this menu components and we are calling show details for each menu component item. So along with that, so we can add some helper functions here. For example, public void add menu component, and we will be adding the menu item into menu components list using this add method. Similarly, we can have remove method. So public void remove, so menu component, and we will be removing the component from the list. So in this menu class, we have show details method because of this implementation, and we have added two helper methods to add or remove the components from this menu components list. Let's create the final client code. So let's call it restaurant. Let's create main method, and here we can create individual menu items. So for example, menu component pizza equals to new menu item, so pizza, and price is 8.99. Similarly, we can add more menu items. Let me create menu, basically creating breakfast menu. So menu breakfast menu equals to new menu breakfast menu. We pass the name. So here in this class, we just need to create constructor in this class, constructor to initialize the name. So while creating the menu, we can pass the name, and in this breakfast menu dot add, so let's create new menu item for this breakfast item. So new menu item, so for example pancake, and price is for example 5.99. Similarly, we can add another item, let's call it omelette, and price for this for example 6.99. We can create another menu, for example creating a drinks menu. So menu drinks menu equals to new menu, and in this menu we can add drinks menu dot add. So we have Coke, we can add coffee here, right? So now we have individual objects and we have menus. So as per our previous discussion, so these are the leaves, the individual objects, and these are the composites. So this menu is composite because that contains individual leaves, right? And finally, let me create main menu. So for example, creating main menu, main menu equals to new menu, and here I can add main menu dot add pizza, right? Main menu dot add pasta. We can add the individual items as well as complete menus. Those are the composites as per composite design pattern, right? So let's add breakfast menu, add drinks menu, right? And now if I want to perform a common operation on all these items, the common operation we have defined in our interface is show details. So for example, main menu dot show details. So if I run this program, so here in this output, you can see item pizza, item pasta, item pancakes, omelette, Coke, and coffee, right? So everything is processed exactly the same way. So composite pattern, it allows us to work with both individual objects and collections of objects in a uniform way. Whether you are working with simple items or complex groups, this pattern keeps your code clean and easy to manage. Or in other words, we can say composite pattern should be applied only when the group of objects should behave as the single object. So composite design pattern can be used to create a tree-like structure, right? So as I mentioned, like we have this tree-like structure and we want each component in this tree should be behaved uniformly, right? So in such scenarios, we can use composite design pattern. So this is the class diagram for the program we have implemented right away. So we have the interface menu component, so which has one method show details, and further we have individual menu item class which contains name and price and the implementation of show details method. Similarly, we have menu class, which is again the implementation of menu component which contains the list of menu components and further implementation of show details. Also, we have added some helper functions. So basically add and remove, and on the right side we have the client code, so where we have created individual menu components as well as complete menu which contains menu items, and in final menu we have added individual items as well as the composite menus. And finally, when we call the menu.show details, so it performed the operation on individual items as well as on the composite menu exactly the same way. So this was all about the composite design pattern. So thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with your fellow coders, and subscribe to Let's Code Together for more awesome coding tutorials. Let's keep learning and growing together. See you in the next video. Thank you.